Okay, hello and welcome to this week's instalment of the Tyre Straits podcast. I am poorly, but luckily my co-host isn't.
No, well, I think I'm okay for the moment. When you get like the slight pain when you swallow, and you think it might be the beginning of getting it. I've got that at the moment.
Oh, he's getting there. He's getting there.
But and welcome to the Tyre Straits podcast, your premium slop content for Formula One information and news.
Yes, indeed. Now, obviously, we've just been through the second week of Formula One testing, and obviously we've got quite a bit to talk about going through with that. But just quickly before we get into the juice of this episode, just a few things we want to go over in terms of the latest news.
Yes. In which case, let's start with the first big thing, which is we've talked in the previous episodes about the fuel compression issues and the loophole that Mercedes have figured out to get it higher than the regulations would allow. Well, the FIA have finally sat down and said, yes, we're going to do a change in this. But they set out a vote, which is happening over the next week, to the teams on whether they liked it changed or not in August to instead measure the fuel compression ratios at temperature, which just is a bit late, in my opinion.
It does seem a little bit pointless, because by assuming we're talking about the beginning of August, we've only got how many races left at that point of the season?
Oh, well, by the time that we've gotten to August, even if it's the very beginning of August, we've done half the season.
That's exactly it, yeah.
So, that's midsummer break.
Yeah, yes, exactly. So we've got, about 10, 12 races left?
Yeah, and also, if it's midsummer break, that is a factory shutdown. So if they do decide midsummer break to change it, Merc have better get it ready before then.
Yes, otherwise they're going to be coming in off the back foot.
And also, if it is that big a deal that it's providing them this much of a lead, if they clean house for the first half of the season, it doesn't matter if you change it at that point.
Exactly. I mean, it's going to be basically a Brawn GP run where, they win the first 6 races of the season and then they could just float through on a bed of those points to the championship win. So, it seems like a little bit of a point. It's a case of like a little bit too little, but mostly too late.
And it's just it's just a bit of an odd call. I would have said, if you're gonna change it, be hard knuckled about it and say like it's changed soon. I understand there's no time for Merc to change it now.
Yeah, but before like within the first few races, at least. I mean, obviously a few years ago,
DAS.
Well, yeah, but I was going to say a few years ago, obviously Mercedes, with their zero pod concept, ultimately that proved to be a flop, and they had their upgrades planned by Imola, which was, I believe, the 4th race of the season that year.
No, it was like 5th or 6th.
I was saying it was early in the season though, and obviously Imola flooded that year, so they couldn't do it. But they brought it in time for, I believe it was Spain that was next, and it's like, if push comes to shove and they need to develop for the sake of performance, they can do it within a short time frame. And obviously this isn't quite the same as, an aerodynamic component like the side pods were. But at the same time, obviously Mercedes has got a huge amount of backing as a engine constructor. They would be able to use that time wisely to sort the issue out.
And also, this isn't the first time that a team, especially not Mercedes, has come up with a massive technical innovation that has blown everyone away and made them just run off with the lead. But what happened that year is they just said, okay, you can have it for this year, but it's banned the next one.
Yeah, and that is a trend in a lot of motorsports as well, especially if it proves to be such a significant advantage.
You found something that works within the rules. If other teams haven't managed to do that, I think that is more of a fault on their part. I understand people are concerned about the
sporting,
the sporting atmosphere of it being that, the Mercedes will just run off and win, George Russell world champion, or Antonelli, I guess. But I just think it's a bit pointless to introduce it in August, because if it is that big an advantage, then like it's too late for it to have done anything.
What's done is done by then.
If it's not that big an advantage, why are you banning it? Like, just let them have it for the year and then change the rules.
But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, obviously, we're still yet to see the outcome of this vote. Like you say, it's within the next week or so. So there's time for I'd
imagine it will pass.
Yeah, but there's time for them to obviously also possibly change that time frame. Not that I'm expecting them to, but it's a bit too early to treat it as a definite, is all I'm saying. But to move things along, in other news, we have got obviously a few changes to the calendar next year. And obviously, one of the returns that we'll be seeing is the return of the Portuguese Grand Prix in the 2027 calendar at Portimao, which is exciting because Portimao is a good track. But now we're also seeing some speculation. Well, it's more reporting that Istanbul Park, the Turkish Grand Prix, will also be returning to the F1 calendar in 2027.
Well, it's such a mixed one because there's both rumours and motorsport. It was motorsport.com Turkey came out saying Istanbul Park is returning for 2027, and it's like, motorsport.com aren't quite a good, credible source on the whole.
Yes.
But the Turkish version of it, being the only one that has said anything, makes it a little bit less reliable. But it seems that there's quite strong rumours of it, as the original idea was to expand into countries like Thailand. I know that Rwanda was one of the proposed ones, South Africa.
Yes.
There was several different cities that were trying to get something done, but nothing could be sorted for 27. So it seems that Istanbul Park is at least going to be a stand-in, like with Portimao, until 29, where I think some of the other new tracks are planning on being up and running by.
Yeah,
but,
and
it'll be good.
I mean, I was say, what's your take on that? Because I believe we're both quite we both have favourable opinions of Istanbul Park, don't we?
I'm quite fond of Istanbul Park. I think it's a really damn good classic circuit,
and it really worked with F1 for the years that it was there as well.
Yeah, there has been some great races. Obviously, what sticks in most people's heads was the absolutely insane race there just before it left.
Yeah,
where no one had any grip. It was Stroll getting pole position, or that might have been the year before.
It was one or the other, but I do know what you mean. It's nice to see it go out on a bang rather than sort of a fizzle.
But there's been some crazy races there. There's been some good fighting. I can't say much about the crowd and atmosphere because it's very standard. It's just a good, solid track. It's kind of like Hockenheim.
Yeah, it's a proper track. It produces
nice,
good racing.
Quality track with good overtaking points. Especially, hopefully, with the new set of regs, it will work even better.
Aye.
But yeah, we'll just have to see and see if it comes back.
Indeed. Now, obviously, we're both rather hopeful that is the case, but something that we're less hopeful for is another piece of something that was published recently. Was it published recently?
It was It was talked about during the testing week.
I see.
Which was Liberty Media, who were the company who own the media rights for Formula One at the moment, and they control a lot of where races go on the whole, because obviously it's where viewership is and where the money is. So it makes sense. But they are massively pushing to get the amount of sprint races increased to 12 a year rather than the current 6 a year. And you know what? I'd rather it's 12 a year than 6 a year.
Really?
Really. But I would rather if they didn't exist.
Yes. What's your reasoning? I'd just like to ask for a bit of being more in favour of 12.
My reasoning is, with there being 6 sprint races, they always go to just whatever track pays the most to have a sprint race there, whether it is good quality or not, or whatever they think will be the best spectacle, whether it is a good race or not. And they can be so misplaced throughout the year that fans will forget about them. completely. It was last year where there was like, in the first half of the season, there were 3 sprints. It was like 1 sprint right at the start with China, nothing until like then Austria and Spa, and then nothing until like the final 4 races, where it was like they need to be paced out better, like considerably. And so if there's 12, yes, it does become a lot more resource intensive, and there's a lot more for people to watch, which is up and down. But it does mean that it's more consistent and it is an actual part of the series rather than just a weird tacked on thing. Because sprints don't feel like a part of the actual championship sometimes. It just kind of feels like something they do at certain tracks is a bit of a gimmick. Which I don't...
I mean, if I'm honest, that's part of why I'm in favour of not having them at all, at least not in their current form.
I mean, I'd rather not have them completely. But also, the one good thing that comes from sprints, in my opinion, is there's less free practice.
It's that, as well as the fact that obviously you have that... It doesn't really give any more intrigue towards the race, because it just means that we're seeing cars on track a day early, obviously for, about a third of the laps, the feature race, but we're already seeing which teams are strongest around that track, which cars are better, which drivers are more comfortable and in tune with the car on that given day, or that given track, I should say, rather. It just rather takes away from any intrigue going into the actual race itself, and just makes me less inclined to watch the actual feature race. And that's what sort of bothers me. Obviously, I'd rather watch the feature race, but by that point, basically, what is likely to be the outcome has already been spoiled.
But it's an odd one, because there are some series that have a sprint every single weekend. I mean, F2 and F3 do like a sprint race literally they do a sprint and a feature at every location. And then MotoGP does a sprint and a main race at every single location. And that doesn't work too badly. Like, that's fine. There's more racing for you to watch. But I think it's because those series are so mixed with the order a lot of the time that it creates a different, like, what happens in the sprint, and especially with F2 and I believe F3 as well, having the reverse sprint grid, it throws a spanner in the works with who ends up winning over that sprint. Which maybe that's what they should do, is do reverse grid for the sprint. But I think a 12...
At least something like that to make it more interesting, I feel.
I don't mind it being pushed to 12 to make it more consistent, if it is like race with a sprint, race without a sprint, race with a sprint.
Or at least, like you say, if it's like reverse grid or something that actually changes the presentation and thus forth the outcome as well. Yeah,
but I would rather that they just get removed.
No, absolutely, I agree. I mean, obviously, I know Liberty Media are pushing to commercialise F1 to its absolute max, but there is a reason why, among fans, what is remembered as the golden age of Formula One was a time before you had sort of sprint races, so many street circuits, things like that. The cars were smaller, lighter, they looked faster, even if they weren't necessarily in terms of out-and-out lap times. But that's just it. Like, obviously, you have the sound as well with the V10s and then the V8s. So I feel like what people really want is obviously clashing with what is marketable. And we're seeing that divide as in the decisions that are being taken in terms of the leadership of Formula One.
Well, it's the main thing being what the people want, quote unquote.
Well, yeah.
Because if you have a sprint race at a weekend, you get more viewership and you get more attendees, because on like Saturday tickets, people aren't showing up for FP3 and quali anywhere near as much as an actual race. If you tell them that there's going to be quali and a race on that Saturday, selling as well as anything. Like, it increases the money and viewership for the circuit and for the broadcast, but it doesn't provide necessarily better racing. It just provides more.
Yes, but anyway, to avoid us going down any too far of a tangent,
massive rabbit hole.
Obviously, like we said at the beginning, we've just gone through the second round of testing. That is testing now concluded ahead of the 2026 Formula One season, and it has given us an opportunity to really see whereabouts the teams are stacking up, and where their strengths and weaknesses are.
Yeah, and let's probably start with something we discussed last week.
Yes, we touched upon this last week. Yeah,
touched on it, which was the start procedures. Essentially, that there have been issues with the start procedures. Essentially, these new cars need to rev up more and more than before to actually get off the line in good pace. And as such, they're trialing different start procedures after mass complaining from several notable teams. McLaren have been complaining the hardest, which we will go into later. But it does mean that the overall starts are going to be longer in feel, which I don't care too much about. Like, it's fine, but it has, annoyed Ferrari a fair amount because they've engineered around this change of start so that their cars do spin up quicker, which was not demonstrated very well by testing. Well, it was in part, but when they tried to explain that Ferrari don't need to rev up as long, they took absolutely forever to rev up, which was very funny.
Yeah, it was almost like a comedy thing. But it was something that we did speak about last week in a bit more detail. But Fred Vasseur, the team principal of Ferrari, was very much aware that this kind of thing could happen, and that's why Ferrari have taken special care to engineer a solution to the problem. And obviously that is why they're now unhappy that it's possible that the problem may be taken away by other means anyway, because they've engineered a workaround for something that is possibly being written out of the rules. And it personally, in my opinion, it's annoying because unlike the power unit regulations, which are obviously brand new going into this season, race procedure regulations, which are a whole different kettle of fish, that's something that hasn't needed to be changed thus far. So I just don't understand why, where the necessity for change comes from if the teams haven't done what they're supposed to do, especially when they were warned prior. So I don't know. I'm slightly not unhappy, but a little bit perturbed that and even just as a Ferrari fan, putting my bias aside, the fact that one team has actually made the effort to work around what was identified as a problem, and then all the other teams, being in their minds rightfully upset about it. It's just a little bit annoying that it's obviously working out in their favour, from my point of view.
I definitely think that from the ground, initially I was massively against it. I'm still annoyed about it because, Ferrari have created a workaround and I am a Ferrari fan. But from a safety standpoint,
something needs to be done if the other teams can't.
When you see just how poorly some of those cars are starting, compared to just how well a certain 4 cars are starting, there's it is a safety thing. 100% stop some awful incident going on every single race start.
God, could you imagine if every single race start of the championship season was just 2022 Silverstone?
Yeah, it would be awful.
Yeah.
The other thing is that it is better than any other. There was rumours that there was a proposed rolling start rather than this wind up. As in constant rolling start. And it's that would be the worst possible thing for this sport.
Yeah.
The standing starts are some of the most exciting parts of a race, and to just completely remove that would be bad. But I think from a safety point, I do kind of get
at least where the idea has come from. Yeah,
I understand why it needs to change.
Yeah,
but even then, that hasn't worked for everyone.
No,
but it has worked for some.
I mean, there's obviously plenty more to be revealed about that over the next few weeks.
Yeah. I mean, we'll see in
in the lead up to Australia, at least. Yeah. So
yes, 2 weeks.
Yeah, 2 weeks. Yes. So there's obviously time for things to change on that front. So there's not much point in trying to touch too much on something that could or like change drastically in its approach within the next week or so. But
still worth mentioning.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm just saying to segue into the next part. Speaking of Ferrari, we wanted to quickly just go over each and every one of the 11 Formula One teams and whereabouts whereabouts their strengths lie and their possible downsides or weaknesses. So I was going to say
essentially what we've seen in testing, basically.
Yes, yeah, exactly that.
The second week.
So if we start with Ferrari, like I was saying,
yes,
they for once are in quite a good-looking position. I've got to say, I'm quite happy. For once.
It is looking. I wouldn't even say quietly promising. Ferrari fans always try and move in silence and every time fail. But it's looking that like they've actually got some good pace. Their engine has good reliability.
Yes.
They have some insane new tricks on the car. One of them being the rear exhaust. I don't want to say splitter, but essentially that redirects the air from the exhaust in a specific way that could possibly be giving better like traction.
Much like the blown diffuser of the sort of higher nosed 2010s era, like that you saw in the Red Bull of that period. You had the blown diffuser where hot exhaust gas was blown through the diffuser, which significantly increased downforce. So it's very cool to see something at least resembling that back on the grid.
Then the most notable thing that everyone saw is the DRS rear wing. Essentially, most of the not DRS.
I was about to say.
So
can't get stuck in the past, man. You got to let it go.
That's rich coming from you. Now, but no, the rear wing essentially, usually on most of the cars, it will tilt to flatten out to reduce drag. However, Ferraris will do a full, almost like it's 270-degree rotation almost, into like a downward facing upside down position, which is like reducing drag and possibly providing them some like lift, which is an insane thing that no one has tried yet. And I'm kind of concerned why no one has tried it, which makes me think it is a massive reliability issue.
It's possible.
Like if a normal active aero system can fail when it is just opening and closing through a simple tilt, think of how bad it is going to be if it's having to do a full spin under load, like under air resistance as well.
Yeah.
So that could very easily not go well for them. However, thankfully it is just a trial model. Like they have a regular spec active aero system, and as such they'll just be trying it out.
Yeah, and I mean obviously we get to see it actually at full race speed on a full, race distance as well. So there's plenty of time to prove whether it's actually, genius and it's going to be game changing, or if it's making the car a dog that's more unreliable and is reducing the reliability and effectiveness of that active aero system. So time will tell.
Yeah. All right. Next I want to talk about their starts. So we mentioned the difficulties with the starts.
Yes.
For the cars. The two of the cars that are doing very well with their launch off the line is Ferrari.
Yes.
They are absolutely mental, and by mental I mean 11th to P1 mental.
Yes, I saw the clip, and obviously I would urge you to watch that highlight if you can. It is genuinely awe-inspiring. If you are a fan of Ferrari, this year is our year.
Yeah, there is a fantastic clip of Lewis Hamilton rocketing off the line and weaving his way to first by the first corner from 11th. And it is like that Ferrari has launched forwards.
Yes.
It's very promising looking. And Charles Leclerc has also gotten some good launches in, though there's slightly less good videos of that. But it looks to be the biggest strength of that car at the moment is going to be their launch. And there's been people complaining already, saying that it doesn't matter if the car is fast if they're not going to get off the line well. And Ferrari certainly are doing
they're
that.
Definitely, yes, they are definitely alleviated of that concern. But one such team that is not in the same boat when it comes to the race starts, nice little segue there, is McLaren. Obviously the reigning and defending Constructors' Champions, and also obviously the home of the current defending Drivers' Champion, Lando Norris. So to see these struggles that they are obviously very vocal in their distaste for as well when it comes to the race starts isn't necessarily something to inspire confidence early on, at least.
No, it's the fact that from the race start they are barely launching off the line. They're stalling. They're not being able. They're moving incredibly slow. There was one on, I want to say, day 2 of this week, or maybe it was 3, where Piastri launched off the line, went forwards a tiny bit, then had to actually pull over and stop the car, like, without even getting away properly. Like, it was awful. And that is such a shame coming from, like, the current Constructors' Champions, that they're really not getting off to a good start. But then again, 2023, McLaren had an absolutely woeful car.
Indeed.
And they somehow eventually moved that into being like Constructors' Champions 24 and 25. So
there's definitely time for them to turn it around. Maybe not within the span of this season necessarily, but even then, like their 2023 car, they were able to reliably at least finish in the points by the end of the season, and even score, I believe, a few podiums.
I mean, it's gonna hamper their the start to their season.
Indeed, and obviously their title defense will not be one where they come out strong and swinging.
No. So it'll be interesting to see in Oz what goes down. But
indeed, what goes down under.
Indeed,
but
that was woeful.
That was terrible. Let's pretend we never heard that and move on to the current what in many people's minds are the current championship favourites, Mercedes.
Merc are currently, they've done some of the most laps of any team over all the tests, I believe, and with their engine also being supplied to the most people, they have the most data out of anyone for their engine, and they still look like a mighty force. There's been rumours that they've been turning the engines down a little bit to sandbag, especially with the fuel issues, like the fuel compression, to try and make it look like it's not that big a thing, but they still look incredibly strong. They still look incredibly reliable, and like, no amount of sandbagging can really make stop people from being on edge about the fact that like other teams are doing quite well with the Mercedes engine, and Merc are just doing like about on par. So it's very likely that they're hiding something, but we shall see.
I mean, obviously, plenty of time to tell that, and obviously, the Mercedes engine, like you say, is proving to be, whether or not it's being turned down to reduce the obvious significance of that fuel compression sort of issue for them when it comes to the legislation. Whether or not that is the case, they still look incredibly strong. They're still in a great position, and obviously with all the customer teams they've got as well, like you say, they've got plenty of data to work with as well. So Mercedes are undeniably in a strong position, and it's clear to see why many people have them pegged down as the championship favourites, at least for the first sort of half of the season.
Indeed. Right. Shall we move to Red Bull then?
Let us move.
There isn't actually tons to say about Red Bull, unfortunately.
It's been a bit of an unremarkable test for them in terms of just anything anything notable to speak about.
They've kind of they've been reliable, they've put some good laps in.
They've sort of slipped under the radar of like the big headliners bit, which were obviously Mercedes with their engine and Ferrari with their race starts and their aerodynamics. But they're still solid in terms of their performance and where they are roughly stacking up. So they're in a good position, I would say personally. Like you say, they've been reliable, but maybe just not quite as pacey as the top two.
I say the reliability will definitely give them a leg up. Verstappen will do well in pretty much any car you give him, mostly. So he's not going to be in a bad position.
No.
Regardless, it's mainly about how dirty they do Hadjar. But I mean,
gone within 2 races, so run it back like last year.
He didn't do that great in this week's test, but last week he was fine. On the whole, so can't complain too much. He's mainly doing heavy runs, I'm pretty sure, rather than anything fast. So his lap time was a bit further down compared to like Max's and whatnot.
Yes.
Speaking of which, I completely forgot to say, fastest time of the session, the fastest 5 times set across the whole test were by Charles Leclerc. So
this year is
very happy for my boy.
But I mean, the fastest time was nearly a second clear of the next fastest set by Kimi Antonelli. It was only a 10th minute.
I'm next to certain they were doing like full quali sim, whereas Mercedes were not. So
yeah, like we say, there's obviously possible that Mercedes have turned their engine power down, but
yeah, it's not representative, but still,
this year is our year.
But no, nothing really from Red Bull. They're just they're looking to be another top team, but I think are going to fall to the wayside compared to 3 of the other top teams, mainly from powertrain, and just getting used to a completely new engine.
Yes,
but then again, a lot of the teams are getting used to new engines, and Red Bull at the very least are still with Red Bull powertrains. It's just that the main manufacturing has moved over to Ford rather than Honda.
So yes, Red Bull EcoBoost.
God's sake. Yes, the new Red Bull Focus.
Oh god, the Red Bull EcoBoom. It just explodes.
God, awful. But no, anyway. Speaking of thoroughly unremarkable,
yes,
we're moving on to Williams.
Go Williams.
5th in the Constructors last year, and it looks like they are going to go back down to nothing. Not the bottom, but just complete obscurity.
No, the bottom is locked in for another team.
Yes. We'll get to them in a sec. But it's incredibly disappointing that with the amount of talk that's been going through Williams about 2026 is their big year. Last year they quote unquote sacrificed their car's performance so that 2026 could be a better year.
Exactly.
And it's come out now and kind of nothing has been happening in the testing, which I understand it can still change going forwards, and hopefully we'll see that from Williams. But they're not showing any pace. They're not showing particularly great reliability. They're not showing anything much. So it's a bit of a disappointing start, but I do have faith in James Vowles to at least pull something together, hopefully, by the end of the year.
At least Williams these days has got a steady hand at the helm, and I'm confident that they'll be able to move forwards and, at least not necessarily salvage, because I think they'll be in a better position than something where they need to salvage it, but they'll definitely be in a position, at least by the end of the year, where they are back to where they ought to be, at least, where their current trajectory points to where they should be.
I think they'll be further back on the grid, but I don't think that they'll be the best of the rest like they were last year.
Yeah. But we've spoken about teams with good pace. We've spoken about good reliability, and then we've spoken about those that are a bit unremarkable. So if I just take a moment to cry, why don't you lay it on me?
Yeah. So if you were here to watch our last week's episode, which if you haven't, you definitely should go check it out on our Spotify and YouTube. I held a tiny little memorial service for Aston Martin, and it feels like I've said this, and the ghost of McLaren Honda past has come back to Aston Martin's grave and drove a spear straight through its heart. Because In the Mud does not even begin to explain how poor Aston are looking right now. Having sunk so much development time, the whole 5-year plan that was discussed back in 2021 when Aston took over, and have it all culminate in a car that not only will the engine not give out seemingly enough power, but the gearboxes aren't functioning well enough. The drivers aren't able to control the car. Nothing on it is working together, and it is just so upsetting. In 2023, they were putting out godly performances. Like, Alonso got a podium in the first race of the season.
Out of the first 8 races, he podium finished in 7 of them.
Which was wild.
Which is where he should be.
And it's where Aston should be. A prolific name like that with so much financial backing, and this massive new Silverstone facility. And it's just unfortunate to see that that there's no harmony there. Like, the team just haven't managed to create a car that functions.
Do you want to know what I read the other day, which I don't know the legitimacy of necessarily, but it's something that I read online, which I feel like it sums up the woes of just the Honda powertrain alone, let alone anything else on the car. But reportedly, the power unit could not exceed 11,000 RPM without breaking down.
That's horrendous. Which, I mean, there is genuine concern, and this is why it's like, how bad is it? There are genuine concerns from team officials about completing a race distance. Like, Aston Martin have easily put in the fewest laps of any team over this testing period, and they have never once done a full race distance stint.
And in terms of their times in testing, just from what we've said alone, I think you can predict the fact that they are, in fact, P21 and P22, and about 4.5-5 seconds off of the top team pace. So, if you don't mind, I will be killing myself shortly after we conclude the recording here.
Maybe not.
Oh, I don't know.
So I've got plenty more episodes to do, unfortunately.
I don't know. It depends how Australia goes, I suppose.
Ferrari will be fine.
I've always sort of put my mental health on the line with being a Ferrari fan and an Alonso fan. And I mean, at least one of them looks like they're doing better than the other this year. But oh my God, I'm not ready for McLaren Honda to run it back.
No.
I'm going to go actually insane.
The other thing though, is speaking of McLaren, it's the sense that they may be bad now, but there is always the chance that they do a McLaren and figure out how to get this thing working later on. Because if you remember McLaren 2023, their first race...
Well, they begged Mercedes to let them have another engine.
It was awful. Like, it was absolutely horrendous. But by the end of that year, you were right. Like, they were getting podiums by the end of that. Do you remember 2023 Silverstone, where Lando took the lead over Verstappen? And I do recall everyone was cheering him on. Like, it was phenomenal.
I do recall that. Sadly, I don't expect that from Aston Martin.
But then again, I didn't expect that from McLaren either. I remember rinsing someone in the pub the early part of that season, because they came in with their McLaren hat on. It was someone I was having some drinks with, and just being like, "Oh, how does it feel? How does it feel? You're down behind, like you're at the back of the grid."
I suppose by that point, as a McLaren fan, they were kind of used to it. I mean, I've been there before, as I said, as an Alonso fan, watching him at McLaren. I think I would have preferred just Chinese water torture for about 5 years.
Anyway, can't dwell on the misery of Aston too long. We must move on.
You have to let go of the dead sometime.
Indeed. and hopefully they rise back.
I
But
won't hold my breath.
hey, listen, if that Revenant comes shambling on back on track, I will be more than happy.
I'll be
But
shocked, but yes, happy.
yeah. But moving on, we've got VCarb, and I think they probably have the least to say about at all this year. I just
Yeah,
feel like they've gotten worse than last year, in kind of every metric.
but they're still
And
not far off of where they were.
yeah, it's not like a horrendous drop off. It's just like
I was about to say worse. Worse is a relative term.
relative. They've gone from like being sixth in the constructors to dropping lower than that. Like I don't think they're going to be fighting for best of the rest. I think they will have just fallen out of that. They'll be near the top of the back markers, I'd say, probably.
Aye,
Like I'm
that's
not.
where I'd expect them to be.
I just think, like Lawson is fine. Yeah, fine driver.
Lindblad is obviously an untested commodity at this point, so
Lindblad, I think, is too new to be able to say anything about. In my
Yes.
opinion, I don't think he should have been brought up to F1 yet, but
No.
I understand why they've done it.
yeah, and he's
So,
performed admirably in F3 and F2. So
yeah,
I mean, he's had his
very
moments.
crash happy.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. He's had his moments of indulging in a little bit of Lance Strollism, but for the most part, on his better days, he's been a very, very strong racing driver that's been quite exciting to watch, to be honest.
And in testing, they haven't shown anything crazy. They've just been getting in data, getting in laps, mainly just testing reliability and stuff like that. So nothing really of note. Now I'm gonna do a twofer here, because if it's looking like Ferrari and Merc are going to be like the top of the pecking order for the big teams, I want to have a discussion about Haas and Alpine,
Yes.
because these two look like they're going to be top of the pecking order for the midfield and everyone else.
Aye.
One with a Ferrari engine, one with a Merc engine.
Obviously, the two, well, from what testing has shown us, at least the two strongest power units, and I mean, Alpine was with that Mercedes power unit. Alpine has improved massively, and I think also their interpretation of the regulations has definitely contributed to that performance boost as well. Because obviously, Alpine went in about 2023. And 2022. They were fighting McLaren for fourth in the constructors, and then obviously they had quite a steep drop off from there. But to see them back towards the front again, and obviously with their current situation as well, where Renault is doing everything possible to get rid of them, to be able to shove something back in Renault's face for it and say, "Look at us, we're doing well again." That would be quite satisfying, at least I think, to see.
Yeah. But I mean, the other thing I will mention though is like Alpine. It's really great to see that they're actually being able to, looking like they're able to perform or something. But I will say Alpine last year also were decent in testing and were woeful when it came to the actual races. So that could very much all change. But at the moment, they are looking to be pretty decent with that Mercedes engine improving their package on the whole.
Yeah, and the same can basically be said for
doing fine.
Yeah, and the same can basically be said for Haas as well. The Ferrari power unit has shown that it's strong and reliable, and that Haas clearly have interpreted the regulations quite well. They've got a strong looking car. Their drivers are both not necessarily that I'm calling Ollie Behrman a veteran by this point. Obviously, he's only had one full season now of Formula 1.
He's had one season.
But, they're both confident enough, I'd say. And obviously, this is everyone's first time in these new regulations. So, not to say that the skill level is like an even, clean, level playing field, but it does bring it down just a little bit, and it just gives those rookies just a little bit more sort of strength when it comes to fighting with the guys that have been doing it for as long as someone like Esteban Ocon, his teammate, has.
I mean, that's like it's fairly similar in matching. I would say that Colapinto's technically had more running than Behrman.
Yes.
But like Gasly and Ocon have been in the sport roughly the same amount of time. I mean, Ocon joined a year earlier, but also missed a year.
This will be
So
his ninth season, won't it? Now,
yes, and I think that's the same with Gasly as well.
something like that. Yeah, but they're both obviously they are people you can call veterans, regardless of like statistics in their careers. Like they've been in the sport that long, they know how the cars drive. They're both race winners. They know what it takes. And obviously,
And I mean,
Colapinto and Behrman are both obviously newer, but they've proven themselves to be, decent commodities.
yeah, yeah.
I mean, maybe in the time that they've had, Ollie, I think, has definitely been more impressive than Franco. But upon Franco's decision to stop crashing, he's been a much stronger competitor.
I'd say that it's kind of hard to judge Franco, mainly because of the amount, like how poor that Alpine was.
Yes.
But we will just have to see. However, the other big advantage for Haas, moving back to the actual more testing and technical side of things, is that they have the same fast launch off the line that Ferrari do. Like during the practice starts, Haas have also been rapid, which could definitely help them.
Absolutely.
Especially for example, if we're moving into a set of regulations that don't actually overtake as well as we thought. But if you can get a fantastic launch off the line and take a bunch of places, there you go.
You can dart between the pack and get through.
Haas could, a good qualifying session from like Behrman or Ocon, a good launch that could put them in podium position.
I mean, it's obviously both Haas and Alpine are going to be. We'll get onto this in a moment, but I do believe that they are going to be in a stronger position than they were last year, both of them respectively. And I think they're going to leapfrog ahead of teams like Williams that have obviously not performed quite so well in testing. So it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah. Right, next we've just got second to last of our teams is Audi, who have actually, it seems, found a bit of pace.
Indeed.
Because last time out, it was mainly the fact that they weren't doing any crazy laps on the whole.
No.
It was mainly a lot of just getting data and stuff like that. Like they weren't bad, but they were still struggling from reliability issues. But it seemed a bit better this time around. Some faster laps, pretty good couple of laps from Hulkenberg. There's considerably less breakdowns. And I will say this, I've kind of the Audi livery is growing on me more and more. I still think it is the worst, but it is not as bad anymore.
It's not as hideous, but like you say, yes, it is still comfortably the worst for me.
It's still the worst, but I don't like it. I just think it's fine. It's okay.
It's an F1 car.
It's acceptable. But I don't have much.
There's not much else to say, I'm in the same boat, like I say.
Okay.
But to move on to our final team and one of the two new teams, it is Cadillac, and they are obviously they're roughly where you'd expect them to be, but they're also not stone dead last.
I think, that's what's most interesting, is that Cadillac being the completely new outfit, whereas Audi were at least starting with the remnants of Sauber.
And obviously Audi as well has had years to develop their team and their powertrain, everything into it. They've been working on it for the last 3 years. Meanwhile, Cadillac made their intention known to join F1 at the beginning of last year, whether that be Andretti Cadillac, that whole plan, or then eventually when it just was Cadillac, their bid was only accepted like halfway through last season. So they really have not had the preparation time that Audi has.
Yeah, and somehow they've seemed relatively on par with an actual team. For someone who's just joined,
yes,
they seem to have it all together. They seem quite well kept. They seem quite professional in what they're doing, which is good. And essentially all they need is to collect more data for themselves. Pace-wise, yes, they are definitely down the bottom at the moment, which is expected of a new team.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's very rare when a team comes out the gates and cleans house, like a fully fresh team.
Yeah.
But it's nice to see that they are at least going to have a shot at doing some stuff, because they're not too far back.
And like we say, they're not, in terms of testing times, they're not plumb last either. They're definitely at the back, but they are not stone dead last. And obviously their driver lineup are two experienced multiple-time race winners, they're going to be in a decent position in terms of drivers. They're not going to face the same issue that Williams has had for the last few years, in that until recently they've had a rookie in the seat more or less every year who has just crashed the car several times per the season, which has just cost them a lot of money. At least with Cadillac, they shouldn't suffer that same issue, aside from the odd crash here and there. So they should be able to focus all of their time and money on developing the car and, just hoping to improve over the season.
Indeed. And that's it for all the teams from testing too.
Yes, indeed.
And so in which case, now that we've seen the Barcelona not-so-private shakedown, testing week 1 and 2 at Barcelona, we have nothing... Bahrain, my bad. We've got nothing standing in our way until the first race in Australia, just a week to go. And so, before we get there, I would like to say to you, what do we think the sort of rough, from testing, who's come out the best looking?
Yes.
Constructor-wise, from worst to best, real quick.
So yeah, this is basically this is who we're expecting to be in what position as a team going into the Australian Grand Prix, first race of the season. Yeah. So
I'd like to this written down.
No, this is something that we're going to work together on as well. We're not going
completely.
We're not giving our own independent lists. We're going to discuss and we're going to move forward. But I think we can comfortably agree that 11th place is going to be Aston Martin.
11th has to be Aston.
Whether or not you think or don't think they're going to be able to work out their woes over the course of the season, that time has not passed yet. They are going to be last.
No, in Oz, I don't, if they're concerned about completing a race distance.
Especially that,
Oz
yes.
Is, Australia's a week away. There's no way they're getting anything sorted in time for that to be functional.
No.
But
I think, there's not much to be said there. I think as well we can agree, like we said, Cadillac, I think I'd suggest numbers in 10th place.
I'd say 10. I'd say 10th.
They're showing that they're in a good place, but they've obviously got some ground to make up first.
I'd say that definitely. When it comes to Perez and Bottas, they'll get good data. There'll be some good fights. I think that I'm certain they will probably get at least 1 point at one circuit.
Absolutely, especially as the season progresses and they find their groove and they're able to hopefully bring some upgrades too.
But we will just have to see with that one. Unfortunately, yes. Right, number 9. I'm thinking Audi.
I don't know. I feel like, just looking at the testing times, I feel like I'd say Williams.
Williams, right? I'm thinking more.
I've just got the testing times in front of me, right? And both of the Williams cars are at least half a second off of Audi.
That's fair, but it's more from the reliability standpoint.
From that, obviously, then yes, I'd agree. But if we're going off of actual performance and assuming that the cars do finish a race, apart from maybe the Aston, I think Williams is they're going to start the season below Audi. Not that I expect them to stay there long, nor do I hope for that. But I'm just being honest with myself. I think based on everything we've seen, they're going to be, especially they've suffered some reliability as well. I think they're going to be below Audi, but obviously I'm willing to,
Yeah, no, I'll happily put Audi one above.
Yeah,
we go
so Williams 9th, Audi 8th.
Audi 8, but I think those could be easily switched.
Absolutely. I'm hoping to be proven wrong on that.
Yeah,
but just from the evidence so far, I can't justify putting Williams any
That's
further.
Fair. I would have personally put Audi 1 below, Williams 1 up. Actually, I would have put Williams 2 up, realistically, just because I think that V-Carb are going to do worse, but we'll put them 7th.
Yeah, V-Carb I was going to say 7th, definitely.
I don't think they'll do poor, but I think the fact that they've got the Red Bull engine, which is probably going to be worse than the Merc and Ferrari engine.
Definitely.
It just makes a bit of sense.
Well,
on the whole.
We're now up to our 5th and 6th.
I was going to say the other thing, Lindblad being an unknown quantity.
Oh, yes, yeah.
Can't really say anything, so we don't know.
But
5th and
6th. Obviously, we were talking about Alpine and Haas earlier. Which way do you think they're going to stack up?
for me, 6th Alpine, 5th Haas.
I think I can agree with that.
I think overall,
Just
across full season, Haas are going to be. I think Alpine will probably be a bit more. Actually, I don't know.
I'm looking at the times now, and the Alpines are actually faster.
Yeah, they are a little bit, but I think
not by much, but they are faster.
I think it's going to be that. Obviously, these are testing times. We can't say too much about it. But I personally think that while Alpine will be more consistent somehow, I think Haas will just have higher highs, and that will carry them up.
But in terms of first race of the season, I still
think Haas. I think because of that start.
I would say from my point of view, I'm willing to go with you, but from my point of view, P5 and P6 are massively interchangeable between the two. I could very easily swing saying Alpine will be the faster team, just looking at testing times. Like we say, testing times don't necessarily account for much, because other teams may be sandbagging, teams may be doing different runs, but just using numbers as face value, Alpine are factually faster.
Yeah. Well, but the thing with testing times is you never can be too sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean,
like I say, I'm very crudely and sort of incorrectly.
I was going to say,
like
I said, Alpine were pretty decent in testing last year, and they were absolutely god awful in the racing.
But no need to remind me.
We'll just have to see.
Indeed,
but that's fair. For fourth,
I think Red Bull.
I'm thinking Red Bull as well.
Yeah, I mean, like we said, they're reliable, but they just don't quite have the same pace that the other teams have shown at the top.
I don't think they have the same pace, and I
definitely think they're going to be strong. But
yeah, as much as I hate to say it, I do think that Hadjar is going to pull them down a little bit.
Yeah, he's getting sent to hell.
I don't think he's going to do horrendously, but I think Max is once again going to get the feel of that car more. And I mean, if you remember, Hadjar's never done a race around Albert Park in an F1 car.
Yeah, because
So putting him in the Red Bull, a notoriously twitchy car on the whole, which maybe that's changed, but considering he's already had a sizable off in the shakedown week,
yes,
I'd say it's not out of the question that something goes wrong. I think that out of the gates, Red Bull are not looking as strong as the other three. And for third, I'm going McLaren.
McLaren, definitely.
I think McLaren.
They still show good pace, and they are P3 and 4 in testing times. So behind Leclerc and Antonelli, so they're definitely looking fast. But like we said, with their woes with the race starts and things like that, they are not in the strongest position compared to the top two.
True. They could really come out the blocks firing, and we never know. I mean, sometimes that just happens.
Yeah.
And maybe they've just been sandbagging. But realistically, I don't think they're going to be able, at the very least, I don't think they're going to be able to beat Mercedes.
No.
And speaking of which, number 2 is not Mercedes. I think it's going to be Ferrari.
I can agree with that. I would like to hope Ferrari could be number 1, but just being sensible for a moment, I do think definitely with the speculation about the Mercedes sandbagging as well, and not showing the true potential of that power unit, I think it's the sensible and possibly correct option to put Mercedes in first. I mean, like I said with Williams, I really hope I'm wrong, but just being logical, I can't deny that I do think Mercedes are going to be the fastest team.
I think, Mercedes are going to be fastest for Ferrari in second. I don't think Ferrari are going to do bad in the slightest. I think they'll be better off the line, but I think it's going to be the situation where as soon as the vote about if the fuel compression thing is a big bonus and the Merc engine is easily the best, then as soon as that vote has passed on whether it goes ahead in August, they're just going to let it fly.
Yeah.
if they know that, like, oh, we don't have to do anything until August, then that's fine. They're just going to absolutely...
They're going to let rip and just win every race.
Yeah, let rip as much as they can to use it while they can abuse it.
Absolutely, but no, I'm comfortable with calling that the official Tyre Straits kind of prediction going into the 2026 Australian Grand Prix.
We looked at
regarding the teams following both weeks of testing in Bahrain. Thumbs up.
Yeah, kind of rough. We looked at testing and thought about it for maybe like 5 minutes and kind of came up with this order predictions.
Yes. So
I mean that's everything. That's everything on testing. Formula One for the moment.
Indeed. Obviously, Formula One will be commencing very shortly. Use our list as expert analysis to expect where each team is going to roughly stack up. But hopefully we find out, and we'll see if we're right or wrong. Hopefully, like I say, on some things wrong rather than right. But to move along, just a few little notes on some other things that have been happening in the motorsports world outside of Formula One. Yesterday, as of when we record this, it was the Auto Trader 400 in the NASCAR Cup Series, which was won by Tyler Reddick, which means that he's on 2 back-to-back victories at the start of the season, putting him in a very good position. But I think the real sort of driver of the day, I'd say, for me, is Shane van Gisbergen. He started outside the top 20, got spun out by Kyle Larson at one point, dropping him right down the order, spun out again of his own volition this time, dropping right down the order, and still managed to put on a humongous fight to put himself back into 6th place at the finish, which is, in any racing, discipline, that's hugely impressive. And especially in NASCAR, where obviously it's a very tight pack, to be able to move up through so many cars is, without any clean air in front of you, that's hugely impressive. So, yeah, he was definitely the shining star of that race for me and gets my seal of approval.
Yeah, very nice. I might have to go have a look at the highlights. I did see
the highlights are very exciting to watch. Yeah,
I saw the final lap, but that was about it. But no, and for me, the only thing I have to talk about this week is MotoGP. But I do have a fair bit to mention.
Buckle up.
Starting off with news that has happened recently, basically it's like the day after we finished the last podcast recording, I'm pretty sure. But they have binned off the Australian Grand Prix for MotoGP is no longer at Phillip Island. They are now going to do it at the Adelaide Street Circuit, which, while a well-known and quite beloved track, also brings with it the fact that this is the first MotoGP street circuit, which, cool spectacle, but also you've got to think about the fact that these are bikes going at sometimes 300 kilometers an hour, and if they crash, you can't just have a catch fencing. That doesn't work for motorcycle racing that well. You need large gravel runoff, because if a rider hits something hard, you need enough runoff for them to be able to get caught. Absolutely. And on some of these streets, that's going to be awful.
I mean, that's part. That's
going to be so hard for them to sort.
One of the most important parts of a Formula One car, or indeed many racing series by this point in the modern era, is called the survival cell, and it's basically the bit in which the driver actually sits, and that's like a bathtub made of the strongest part of the car, which is designed to protect them in the instance of an impact against something. That means that everything in front of that and behind that and surrounding it is designed to crumple and sort of absorb the impact, while the survival cell stays intact, obviously protecting the driver, protecting their body, and, with things like the Hans device, also protecting them from things like whiplash or even possibly neck fractures. So it doesn't take a genius to look at a motorbike and... I mean, I don't watch MotoGP, it's not, but this is my take on it. It doesn't take a genius to look at a motorbike and then suggest slamming into a concrete wall at about 180 miles an hour is going, it's not going to be survivable for them.
Well, it's the fact that they essentially have their suit contains like an airbag system and a roll hoop that will protect them if they crash onto gravel
Yes,
or onto
exactly.
the racetrack, because then they slide and the energy gets lost. And there's Tech Pro barriers which they can then crash into at the end to stop them if they still have enough momentum.
Yeah, there are several
And
measures in place prior to
in-
actually hitting that barrier to slow them down.
like in Formula One, there is a good number of times that there are very few times that people won't start a race because they're like properly injured. Like there's car failures, there's sickness, so they'll miss media days. But a lot of the time, when they're like, you don't get injured out on track that much and miss a race. Whereas like MotoGP, it's commonplace. Like off the top of my head, like there were at least 6 or 7 of the different like riders last year that had to miss a couple of races at least due to injuries, which is like insane to say that and then say, yeah, let's sling them around a street circuit. And it is, thankfully, if it was going to be any street circuit, Adelaide is at the very least one that has been there for a while. It's semi-permanent. It's mostly in a park, so there can be decent runoff on a lot of it.
Yeah, with a bit of modification.
I'm still very skeptical on it, and also really gutted because, like, Phillip Island was a fantastic circuit. Like, why have they binned it off? But well, I do actually know why they binned it off. But
why would that be?
So they've essentially binned it off due to disagreements with contracts with the Victorian government and the guy who owns the circuit, and essentially in this absence of whether they want it, because they wanted to move it from Phillip Island due to issues with the infrastructure and stuff, and they were trying to get it sorted at Albert Park. But the thing is, Albert Park would need a ton of restructuring, like so much, that they were like flip-flopping about the idea. And in the meantime, the Southern Australia government, which I think that's the region where Adelaide is, came in and swooped up the Grand Prix and said, we'll do it at Adelaide Street Circuit, we'll make it function. So that will be hotly anticipated to see how and if that works. And if it does, then sure, like, that's fine, I've been proved wrong. But it is a risky play for MotoGP. The other main thing I want to talk about is the Bahrain test, as next week, and by that I mean technically this week, the week we're recording, the weekend of the 1st, is going to be the first race of the MotoGP season in Thailand. And they've done the testing week beforehand, which has been very strange, in the sense that Bezzecchi has gone fastest, which is not too surprising, on his Aprilia, but second place being Ayagura, who, on his track, like his track house Aprilia, which is really strange, considering, I mean, last year he came out of the blocks firing around Thailand, in the fact that he, in his first ever MotoGP race, came 5th, which is like insane work on a motorcycle, and with so many good talents on that track. But he kind of didn't do tons for the rest of the season. He was still very good, but like nothing as crazy as the other rookie, Fermin Aldeguer. And now that the Aprilia has picked up some pace, it's come back, done the test here, second ahead of the Ducatis of the Marquez brothers and Bagnaia, is really, really good to see from him. And it's not saying that he's going to be particularly noteworthy going forward yet, but it does mean that he clearly has some promise and he could be cooking something up. Like if he does well in the race and then that carries forward from Thailand, there could be some good coming out of that track house, especially with Raul Fernandez as well. Also a very good rider who got his first win last year. But it's kind of shaping up. The title fight kind of looks like it's between Aprilia and Ducati, with Bezzecchi and Marc Marquez. There's obviously like Bagnaia and Alex Marquez in the mix, which I don't know how that's going to go, because realistically, I don't think Bagnaia is going to beat Marquez. I don't think Alex Marquez is going to have as good a season as he did last year. But we shall see. It's all to play for, and definitely will be a good watch. Yeah, if a bit of an early one for us.
Indeed. Well,
But
There's plenty going on in the world of motorsport in the lead up to the first race of the Formula One season as well. So if you're looking for something to keep yourself entertained with until then, as a Formula One fan, I cannot recommend tuning in to even just watching the highlights from the NASCAR Cup Series. And obviously, I'm sure my co-host, Mr. Dootson, will point you towards MotoGP. So there's plenty of racing to enjoy in the build-up to that first race of the season. But that's it for this week.
That is currently everything that we've got from testing, and that's it all done. So if you've made it through the end of this episode, thank you so much for listening. Make sure to follow along on YouTube or Spotify, whichever platform you're listening to us on. And make sure to follow us on Instagram at Tyre Straits Podcast. The link is also in our channel page, or the Spotify account page or podcast page or whatever it's called.
Indeed.
And yeah, that's about it from us. Join us next week, where we're going to be covering our predictions for the first half of the F1 season.
Indeed.
And we'll be explaining more what those entail when we get round to them
that's
next week, so make sure to tune in.
That's going to be an exciting one, and obviously that's going to have a lot of bearing for us, because that is our official predictions for the first 12 races of the season. So, lots of interest around that one, so please do tune in, join us then. It might be a longer one, might not be, but hopefully we'll see you then. So thank you for tuning in this week, and goodbye for now.
Yes, have a good rest of your week.